One Battle After Another is the latest film directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Teyana Taylor, Regina Hall, Chase Infiniti, and it has potentially been hyped up as one of the best movies of the entire decade. And so in making this review, I do want to be very careful to tamper any expectations because I know some people just can't help themselves and get so caught up in the reviews and let that play into their initial watch of this film. But I gotta say, I do agree this is one of the best films I have seen in years. And typically when I make reviews for new movies, I usually record them the same day I see that movie just to get the freshest perspective I can. But with this film, I just wasn't able to do that because I am still processing what I think about it. There's so many details in this film with the camera movement and the score and so many thematic elements that I can't even begin to process, although I know I will appreciate them on future watches, because right now I am just trying to process how I feel about it because this movie was like a battering ram hitting me with every single emotion possible. Now, much of the marketing of this film presents it as a father-daughter story where Leonardo DiCaprio's daughter, Chase Infiniti, gets kidnapped by some people from his past, and he needs to go on this mission to find her. And that is, in some ways, what this movie is about, but I do think the marketing fell a little flat on really capturing the tone of what this film is trying to do. And a lot of people have pointed that out, that either Warner Brothers missed the mark on trying to market this movie, or it was intentional so that the word of mouth of how the trailer was misleading would carry the film to success. And if that was the plan of the marketing of this film, it is working because the word of mouth on this is so strong, and I have yet to see anyone disappointed by watching this film. What this film does manage to do, not spoiling anything about the plot, is capture this human feeling that so many people can relate to within a specific group of people. Now, what I will say is that Leonardo DiCaprio is involved in this vigilante justice group. They're stationed on the US-Mexican border, so immigration is a heavy theme within this film. But beyond that, it's just people trying to live their lives outside of the oppression of a forceful US government, which could not be more timely of a message, and I have to assume it's going to be polarizing for some who disagree over the basic message of human rights. So that's a bit unfortunate, but I am hopeful that this movie is impactful enough that we are able to see the human side of these political issues. Because while the film is very clear within its political stance, it is also just a great crowd-pleasing experience, specifically with the pacing, where this is a 2 hour and 40-minute movie. It feels about 90 minutes because once it starts, it is non-stop action. You hardly get a moment to sit down and relax. And with films like this, you are always worried that by doing this, you are going to neglect some of the slower character development. But this film manages to pack in all those emotional beats within this non-stop action sequence. And just like PTA does so well, every single set piece, every single scene is so immaculately designed that you feel like these are real people living in this real world. And even though these are actors that you're going to recognize, they are so immersed within their characters that you forget that what you are watching is fictional. Sean Penn especially is delivering one of the best performances of his career, which is saying a lot considering he has 2 Oscars. But he plays this antagonist, this white supremacist, which is truly one of the most evil characters we have ever seen in film, which is always a great move to immediately get your audience on the side of the political message that your protagonist is aligned with. So as recording this, it is Friday, the day it is technically being released, and I am so curious to see what the general audience will say of it, because critics are already halting it as one of the best movies of the decade, and like I said, I tend to agree with that sentiment, but there is this odd feeling of being ahead of a masterpiece, because typically movies like this, I feel like, will get released, maybe not do so well at the box office, but then in a couple years be revisited as this film that we slept on. So to have the hype be so high, and I do think it's just the lack of movies like this we have seen within the past 5-6 years, I think it's going to be a really interesting box office run. I know for myself, I am going to be seeing it multiple times, and I would highly encourage you, if you are watching this video, to go and see this on the biggest screen possible. It's not often we get a movie like this that blends so well this high-paced action blockbuster along with this deep, emotionally resonant story, and this is going to be a film I am going to be thinking about for years and years to come. So those are some very brief thoughts on One Battle After Another, but I would love to hear yours. So if you have seen the film, please comment below, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time.